Hello, Brendan. We're going to take a look at your 5 characteristics of light posting, give you a little bit of recorded feedback here. And so let's dive right in. We have, good, you have your name, and that's a really important thing. A few students forgot to do that. Always include your name on your postings. This is basically your title, tells us just exactly what it is. Also, good job in terms of identifying the positions. These are just minor technical things to some people, but it shows that you are paying attention to instructions and also paying attention to what kind of images you're making. So let's take a look here, position 1 and 2. Okay, good. So if you are following the basic sort of outline, so this is position 5, the light would be directly behind, position 1 directly in front. So it looks like technique-wise, you've got things going on pretty well. Now, composition-wise, we're making photos of bottles, and a lot of people, when they started off with the first project, it went in either one or two directions. They spent an extraordinary amount of time on the direction component, and therefore their images are just through the roof awesome. Others, they worked and worked and worked, and it took them some time to overcome the idea that they're making pictures of bottles. And so that by the time they got down to the last component of hardness, now they were making images of shapes and highlights and things like this. This first component, it appears you're in the latter group. You're making pictures of bottles right now. And that's fine. You are attempting to do some interesting things here, creative things with the compositions, but by and large, these are too far away in order to translate as anything other than a portrait of a bottle. And that just has to do with the the sort of aesthetics of what it is you're doing. Technically, they're just fine. Now, intensity, we're getting a little bit closer here. That's a good job. You've identified the 1 to 2. That's also a good job, a 1 to 1. Typically, you're not going to have a 1 to 1 on a key to fill. That would be, something that I would think about. If you notice that it's a 1 to 1, like, wait, that's too much balance. The idea isn't to balance out the key light and diffuse direction. The idea is to offer some additional illumination to the scene via the fill light, but the fill light should be just a fraction of what the key light actually is. Compositions have gotten a lot better here. You're closer. I can see you're letting things run off the frame much better. So again, you're improving on those compositions. This seems a little bit self-conscious, like I'm not sure where to put these things, and you just sort of identified them that way. So not a great composition here, a much better composition here. This is a very effective composition here because you're using the entire picture plane, you're using shadows in order to break up the space and so on, as opposed to this, where things are just sort of floating in the middle of the page here. All right, let's move to temperature. For temperature, we're modifying the light source, we're modifying the camera settings. We have 2 lights so that we should be able to create a variety and a mix. And it looks like you're doing that very effectively with this. In some cases, very balanced composition, and in other cases, it shifts all the way into the very cool blue. But either way, I think these are working quite well. This is a very beautiful image here, Brendan. Very beautiful. You've got the single object here. You got the repetition of the shadows. This really elegant sort of mark here. Whoops. Really elegant sort of mark that's going on, like right there. All very good. You're improving as you go. So you're definitely in the latter group where you started off a little bit, I don't know how to take pictures of bottles. And now you're moving into, now I know what I'm doing in terms of compositions. Much, much better. Contrast. This is where, of course, we're adding the reflecting light in order to get more variety in terms of the shades of gray. Okay, so let's talk about this one just a little bit because, this is an excellent image. Yet at the same time, you're saying, oh, whoa, wait a minute. Isn't this, sort of far away? Couldn't this be a portrait of bottles? And I would say yes and no. Clearly they're bottles. However, the way they are organized, you've got them grouped. So this whole shape is acting as a single unit. Also, you are effectively incorporating shadows here. You also got this transition from light to dark, and you've also have a very effective focal length here. It's very soft, and then it gets sharp. So that's an excellent use of this. This one gets a little bit sort of wonky. It's not as good, and so on. So you're definitely finding ways ways to make photographs of these bottles without them being bottles. This one's an excellent one as well. Although it looks like on the other one you sort of moved around a little bit. Whoops! For some reason these the images are sliding around on me here. All right. So this is excellent use of composition, and then the technique itself, it looks like you're handling quite well. We still have the direction. Hardness. Now, this is in color, and so that's an error. These should not be in color. They should be in grayscale. So you probably just forgot to turn it off to go back to grayscale when you hit the hardness component. So that is something that you're going to want to change here, because you went from having them in black and white, and then after temperature, you forgot to switch back to color, or I'm sorry, to grayscale, because these are now in color. So we want to change that. We want to avoid that. However, you are using the diffused light source versus the hard light source very well, modifying the shadows. We've got hard shadows, we have soft shadows, adds a lot of complexity to the image making process. When you have multiple types of shadows, it's always a good thing. It adds that sort of richness to your photos. Let's see what your peers had to say. We like the direction photos because of the creativity of the compositions. You know, I don't know. I'm going to say no on that one. I'm going to disagree. I think they're more self-conscious. It looks like you're trying too hard to create a composition, as opposed to some of these others down here where it looks like you're discovering compositions rather than trying to make compositions. It's a big difference between those two. That's what I mean when I say they feel a little self-conscious. They feel like you're really trying to make a composition rather than, oh, hey, look at these bottles. Let me find something inside them. So, you know, I rarely just flat out disagree with peer evaluations, because I think you can't really go wrong. They're just giving their own observations. But in that case, I think the creativity of the compositions happened later in your postings, not in the direction portion. Start off, if you forgot to capture images in monochromatic. We saw that, yes. Very good, we mentioned that. It really is, I like when we can see that the peers are seeing the same things that I'm seeing. It basically just reconfirms those things. So very good. Light diffusion, contain very soft shadows and hard shadows, sometimes both in one picture. Very compelling. I do agree with that as well. So, you know, that's just a basic assessment of what I'm seeing in your images. You'll also receive a numeric evaluation and grade for these. And of course, you'll be able to go back and make changes and modifications and resubmit and all of those kinds of things. So I just wanted to, you know, record these kinds of things for everybody so you'll have some feedback directly from me. You know, keep shooting. That's what this class is all about. It's really to work through the techniques of photography by shooting lots and lots. So we'll see you in the studio coming up.